Hello there, and welcome! So, Yooka-Laylee and the Impossible Lair was just announced, and I've got my friend Lewis, and we're gonna sort of discuss it. So, before...
What's up? That's me.
It
Oh,
is
what?
you!
Yo! It's something that isn't Quantic Dream on this channel with me. What?
Hey, you joined me for Catherine?
That is true. That feels like ages ago,
It
man.
was, it was years. But, so let's start about Yooka-Laylee.
Okay.
So let's start with the first Yooka-Laylee. What were your just general thoughts on Yooka-Laylee?
I thought I beat it. I didn't 100% it like I would have done with Banjo. It felt like more of a BanjoKazooie than a BanjoKazooie, in terms of being a spiritual successor. And that was disappointing to me because I prefer BanjoKazooie.
Fair enough. I
Oh.
personally haven't seen anything of Tui, so like not even videos. So I'm sort of like, yeah, sure.
Yeah, no, and in the sense that it has like bigger worlds and they sort
Right,
of interact
gotcha.
with each other and
Yeah.
stuff like that. And it's just a different thing. I prefer the original sort of streamlined approach, but it's a personal opinion thing. It doesn't really matter because I also thought Ukulele wasn't great. It felt rushed to me,
Yeah, I'm.
and that was like the biggest like hit for me.
Yeah,
You know, when
Yeah,
they
no, I know
raised
what you
so
mean.
much money, I think they felt obliged to make the game as quickly as possible.
Mm.
And I get where they're coming from in that regard, but at the same time, like the backer soundtrack, the tracks on the soundtrack were just listed as World 1, World 2, World 3. They didn't have the world's names.
Oh really?
And I was like, did you name them at the last minute? Did you like just put the soundtrack up and then just forget about it and just wait to release it? I don't know. But it's sort of like an endemic thing in my mind that because it was a really quick turnaround time for a game like that. I don't know. It felt to me like it could have done with a few more months.
So have you not touched it since it came out, basically?
Yeah, no, I haven't. I haven't
Fair
touched it
enough.
for like 2 years.
Because yeah, I think I don't know how long it was afterwards. 6, maybe 8 months. Also, if you can hear rain, I can't do anything about that. It's pouring a
Well, funnily
storm.
enough,
But
the rain, Teal.
yeah, no, I wish I could control that. But yeah, no, they improved a lot of things. Just generally how it felt here and there. They added general fixes. They added some things to make some challenges easier. For me, I at the time of originally playing it, I didn't love it. I didn't despise it, but I didn't love it. But also, I was going through a depressive phase at the time, so I feel like that probably contributed. I know it did, because everything around me at the time was just like, no, I hate it.
Yeah.
But I went back and played it, and I've 100%ed it. And whilst there are some things that I didn't like the world does feel empty at times. I think it's just because of how big it is, and unfortunately the nature of it. Like you go because it's such a just a much grander thing. Like you can't have things everywhere because it will just overpopulate it and feel more crowded at that point. It's gonna do the opposite effect. So I guess maybe a smaller world will do it. Like the isometric castle, I loved that area because it was really compact. It was really clever. It was a nice play on words, and it was just an awesome set of puzzles, and it was fun. You're gonna say you hated it, aren't you?
No, not at
Okay.
all. I actually agree with what you're saying in terms of it being a large world but quite barren. And I was going to bring it back to that kind of, in a way, to me, how Tui felt.
Okay, interesting.
So I would be interested to see because especially I was looking at like discussion videos about it, and I never had a problem really with how it controlled. I thought it controlled quite
Oh,
well.
controls fantastically, yeah.
I enjoyed it. My problem was more that the design, the inherent design for the worlds, doesn't feel intrinsically interesting. The whole point of notes or quills and such is to guide you as a player. But when you have worlds that are that big, it's tough to really get guided by only 200 quills that seem to be scattered at like random. I don't know. I never had the.
Yeah, I feel like with some of the quills in particular, it was really hard to find them, and in a way that wasn't necessary because there wasn't. There, oh no, there was eventually. I was gonna say there was a tonic that made it easier to track things, which I did appreciate. But it was still a lot of it just felt, oh my god, there's like this such a wide open space, and you're looking for this tiny thing. It felt very hard at times, but I think it's very much a gameplay style preference kind of thing. Some people really like that, and I don't mind that. I just prefer it to be, I guess, a little bit tighter. One thing that I will say that I didn't like was the expansion of the world. The expansion is fine if it expanded, like if it created a separate area, but because it expanded everything, so things in the first area there were things in the first area, and there was more. I know it's like here's a circle, and then here's a bigger circle. Now you can explore in that bigger circle, but there were also some things from the bigger circle that were sort of pushed into the smaller circle, and because of that, it made finding new things harder because I thought I'd looked everywhere, and now there's more there, and it's just like this little sort of juggling act with that, which sort of clashed every so often. But what I will say is, when replaying it, I really enjoyed a lot of the design ideas. A lot of the things that I found a problem with the first time was sort of, like, I realised a lot of the problems were either I misunderstood something, or maybe it was even patched, I don't know, but I even misunderstood something, or like I missed something. It was just like, oh, okay, this is cool. Like, and a lot of the design choices were actually like there's a lot of really cool little ideas. There are a couple of things which I don't think work. There's a puzzle in the isometric palace where you have to reflect light to melt ice.
And I remember.
To reflect it, you have to turn invisible. What? No, that's not how that works. That's really weird. And there's also in the casino, there's like a room where there's a bunch of enemies, and they seem to spawn infinitely. Like they never stop. And it will get you either a couple of tokens or open to get a page. I can't remember which. But it does stop. It's just there are literally 5 minutes of spawning enemies. Like you could have made it. Like, you could have had, like, there's monitors around there. You could have had, like, a counter of how many enemies there were. Like, something subtle to be like, that's what I'm missing. I do need to keep killing. It's just, like, that's how much.
To be honest, the most crushing part for me of Yooka-Laylee was the casino level. Because I've always thought, like, casino levels could be really cool in video games. I mean, Sonic has a good one. Yeah. But it just felt so drab and so lifeless and so pointless. I don't know. A lot of it just didn't feel like it had the passion and the love that went into it. I guess I don't know. I don't know is the truth. One thing I will say, just to sort of round it off, is everyone was complaining about the final boss. Yeah. I beat it on my second go. Like
I found it quite difficult. I found some of the tells were a little confusing. I think they changed that in the patch. I think they changed a couple things here and there. Not too much, but just like minor little details. I found it quite challenging, but it is a really cool boss. I enjoyed refighting it a lot on my second playthrough.
No, I liked it for sure, and
I thought it was quite cool. Yeah, the bosses were great, I think. But that brings us on to Yooka-Laylee and the Impossible Lair, and the question I have to ask you is change good? Because this is a 2D game.
Change inherently is neither good nor bad. It depends on whether the changes that are made have a positive or negative effect. I study philosophy and ethics at A level, so I've already thought about this sort of stuff. Yeah, inherently, change in any one or anything is not a bad thing in and of itself. The fact that something has changed does not. I mean, you and I have grown as people a lot over the last 7 years. Yeah. And I've no doubt will continue to change. There's some things about that I'm glad changed. And there are some things like my waistline that I wish had stayed the same. But we're here now.
You're too harsh on yourself.
I'm pretty chubby. Regardless. I want to get my hands on it, and I want to see how it plays first. Because if it's the same 3D control scheme, in a sense, if they have the same weight and the same controls designed for a 3D platform in 2D, it's a quite half-hearted change. But if they have adapted the control...
Yeah, I mean, you said stuff about it. It depends on how you utilize those controls in a 2D space. It can work, or with changing those controls or not, it can work, or or it can't, depending on the design. But what I mean, there's also like a 3D overworlds with puzzles sort of thing, which is actually quite interesting. It's nice to actually utilize the 3D overworld, like Super Mario 3D World for the Wii U does that kind of thing, but not in the way that this game seems to be doing. This seems to be very much no, you actually have to do things to go to your next level, and that's kind of cool. I quite like that. What I like is that the music is Grant Kirkhope and David Wise, which is fitting because it does give me Donkey Kong Country vibes.
I was thinking that as well when I was looking at the trailer. It really does, and I don't want to say I was surprised, because obviously they're both really talented, but I was surprised at how much I prefer David Wise's music.
Yeah.
Given that when I grew up, I didn't really grow up with the Donkey Kong games. I grew up with BanjoKazooie and Banjo, well, not Banjo-Tooie, but I grew up with Grant Kirkhope's music.
Yes.
So I was expecting him to be the one to lay it in. And he did a really good job. But I love David Wise's music.
Yeah. Donkey Kong Country 2 is one of the greatest soundtracks ever.
Oh, absolutely.
And have you heard Tropical Freeze's music?
I have just started playing Tropical Freeze.
Really, it's a fantastic game.
I'm really getting a kick out of it. It's cracking.
It is absolutely fantastic. I can't recommend it enough to anyone who hasn't tried it. It's on Wii U and Switch. And yeah, it is I think one of the greatest 2D platformers ever made. It's really fun to play, lots of diverse worlds and level, really interesting design just throughout the whole game, and the soundtrack is
so good. I'm loving it.
Oh, you haven't heard the best bits yet. It gets better.
Well, no, that is true.
But it's just like it's so good that they're on board. But yeah, just seeing the trailer, I'm just like, oh, this is good. Like Yooka-Laylee 2, there are so many people who would split one way or the other. And like some people loved it, some people hated it. I feel like there's not really an in between for most people. But this is gonna be, I think, the same sort of deal. Some people love the fact that it's changed into 2D because it's like, it's a fresh start, and some people will be like, oh no, but I liked what you did with 3D. Why are you changing that? But at the same time, I think there's a lot of potential here. I think the team's great, and I don't know if you've seen, but they the developers put up developer commentaries for Yooka-Laylee. And it was fascinating to watch.
I haven't watched them yet, but they've been added to my watch list.
Yeah, I highly recommend it. It's fascinating to watch, not just to see the people who made the game, or at least a couple of them. Obviously, it's a big team, but also because you see what they were doing design-wise, and you hear some of the stories. It's just like, oh, that's awesome! I love hearing that stuff. I see where you're coming from when you made this. I see what you did here. I see why you did that. Didn't necessarily always agree with it, but I see why, and it's just like, it's cool. It's really cool, and this is like, this is going to be interesting for many different reasons. And I'm looking forward to that.
The thing is, like, just going back slightly, I would say, like, on reflection, and again, I've played, like, post-patch, but pre-update, if that makes sense, to the original Yooka-Laylee. I would say I am pretty lukewarm on it. And the only reason I would say that equates to a negative score is because of the disappointment.
Yeah, fair enough.
But as a game, like, if I'd have picked it up standalone without backing,
or maybe even without, if you hadn't heard of the company before, you didn't grow up with Banjo, but you were a fan of this kind of game, you'd probably be like, oh, this is a great little indie game. Yeah,
or to be honest, I might, like, it's okay.
Yeah,
I would go as far as to say it's okay. Yeah, Yooka-Laylee, from my experience, is an okay game. So I'm interested to see where they go with Impossible Lair. Definitely, I think the shake-up is probably, this is the right time to do it. Because currently Yooka-Laylee, they are a sort of newish, but new franchise.
Yes.
It's not like changing an established franchise. And I'm interested. It's not a drastic change, but it has the potential to have drastic connotations.
Yeah, and actually, to interject slightly, I think this is actually probably good that it's 2D, because obviously it's massively inspired by Banjo. It's a spiritual successor. It's the same team who worked at Rare, or at least some of the same team that worked at Rare way back when. And at the moment, there are murmurs, it hasn't the Microsoft conference hasn't happened yet, so we don't know. But at the moment, as of when we're filming this, there are murmurs that there is a new Banjo-Kazooie game or a remake or something that's going to pop up. So,
and if
this
it does,
to be a 3D
I'm gonna
game,
go fucking crazy.
well, yeah. But I mean, like, for this, if this new Ukulele game was a 3D game, it would be in direct competition with its original counterpart, and that's such a weird thing to feel or have. Like, I mean, there's been like mascot wars since the beginning of gaming history with Mario vs Sonic and Crash and Spyro and blah, blah, blah. But like Banjo versus Yooka, like, that's weird, right?
Do you know what? I didn't think about it until you brought it up, but I don't think I've met or heard from a single person who thinks Yooka-Laylee is better than Banjo-Kazooie.
No, I don't think so.
So what you're saying there
think it's a
actually
different
makes
game.
a lot of sense.
I think it's a different game. Especially because, like you say, it's more like Tui.
But inevitably they're going to have the comparisons.
Yeah. So,
I have not heard a single person say they prefer Yooka to Banjo.
Yeah, and now it's not only a comparison; it is a direct head-on 1v1 at the same time comparison, which is kind of unheard of in gaming, unless I'm forgetting something. Has there been a spiritual successor that's actually competed with its predecessor directly?
To be honest, not that I can think of. Not that I can know.
It's fascinating. I'm really excited to see what happens. I think both on a... Because I really want Yooka-Laylee and Impossible Lair to be good. I think it has so much potential. I think the first game has potential for if they did more to it.
Obviously, like, we want every game to be good.
Well, yeah, of course.
I never go into a game being like, oh my god, I hope this shit. It's going to be amazing.
But I think what they're showing is a good step in the right direction. I think it's going to be an interesting 2D platformer. If Nintendo announced a Donkey Kong game, holy hell, you're fucked. Imagine if they had a similar release date as well.
Man.
Like it'd be tragic. But no, I think Yooka-Laylee does have its own footing through reputation, good or bad, and I think you never know. I mean, Banjo's revival could, if anything, spark interest in Yooka-Laylee again. There's so much that rides around this E3 for Microsoft, for Yooka-Laylee, for Nintendo, for all three. Is so much that sort of rides on what gets announced, and I mean, the thing is, you can never predict how people are going to react. Like, you think, this is going to go viral, and then never does. Like, something
would be
completely
pretty chill. Like, in a sense that it would be so meta and so like out of nowhere that it would be absolutely amazing, right? It's if Banjo were added to Smash, but Yooka and Laylee were added as an Echo Fighter.
That would be interesting. Although Yooka-Laylee is in a game called Brawlout, which is like a Smash clone.
I did know that. I haven't played it.
I've played it when it was when it first came to Steam. I think it was an early access thing. They sent me a copy. It was fun to play. I'm sure it's advanced a lot since then. It was really fun at the time. But yeah, no. So I mean, if Yooka-Laylee was an Echo Fighter, that would be hilarious. I mean, also Shovel Knight was in Yooka-Laylee, so
that is true.
Just the whole circle.
Shovel Knight's fucking everywhere, though.
Yeah.
There's a Shovel Knight reference in Hitman 2, for fuck's sake. Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah, Shovel Knight really blew up. It's a great game, no doubt. But it's surprising how much it blew up.
It's surprising even now how much it's still like mimetic.
Yeah.
In the sense that like they just put a spade next to a suit of armor, and you're like, oh, I get it.
Yeah. But yeah, I think we'll end the discussion there. I think Yooka-Laylee and Impossible Lair is going to be cool. I'm looking forward to seeing more of it, and hopefully hearing a release date at some point. And yeah, I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, leave a like, share the video around, subscribe, and we'll see you next time. Take care. Bye-bye.